AITA for canceling my payments for my sister's wedding after my family excluded me? I'm Sophia, 34, the oldest daughter in a family where being responsible somehow became my personality, my job, and my punishment. Ava is my younger sister, 5 years younger than me, though if you ask my parents, you'd think she was a visiting princess and I was the staff assigned to keep the carpet clean before she arrived. I was the one who remembered birthdays. I was the one who brought extra phone chargers to family dinners because someone always forgot one. I was the one who stayed late after barbecues to wrap leftovers, wipe counters, and listen to my mother explain why Ava didn't mean it like that, after Ava had snapped at somebody for breathing too loudly. And somehow, whenever I pointed out that being useful was not the same thing as being loved, I was told I was making things tense. My mother, Diane, had a soft voice she used when she wanted to make cruelty sound like a wellness decision. "Sophia, don't make your sister feel worse," she would say. She screamed at me because I asked her to move her purse off my chair. And you know how sensitive she gets. My father, Mark, was worse in a different way. He liked to turn every unfair situation into a lecture about character. "You need to be the bigger person," he would say, like there was a prize waiting for me if I swallowed enough disrespect. Ava was not evil when we were kids. I want to be clear about that. She could be funny. She could be sweet when nobody was watching. But she learned early that the rules bent around her. If she forgot a school project, I was asked to help her redo it. If she cried at a family dinner, everyone checked on her, even if she had started the argument. If I achieved something, my parents softened it so Ava would not feel left behind. When I got praise, Mom redirected the conversation. When Ava got praise, we were expected to stand still and admire the moment. I used to think if I stayed calm enough, helpful enough, reasonable enough, one day my parents would look at me and realize I had been a daughter the whole time, not just a backup plan with good manners. Then Ava got engaged to Ben. Ben was not a bad guy exactly. He was polite in the way people are when they don't want responsibility for anything happening around them. He laughed softly at Ava's jokes, avoided uncomfortable conversations, and developed a sudden interest in his plate whenever my family got tense. He benefited from the way Ava treated people, but he never wanted to call it anything deeper than sister stuff. The engagement turned my family into a wedding production company overnight. Mom started sending messages in the family group chat before breakfast. "Diane, we need everyone's full support for Ava's big day. No negativity. Diane, the photos will be timeless if everyone cooperates. Diane, please remember this is about Ava and Ben, not old issues." Old issues meant me noticing patterns. Ava had Pinterest boards for everything. The ceremony arch, the bridesmaid bouquets, the sweetheart table, the aisle pieces, the champagne glasses, the napkins, which apparently needed to be elevated. A word I started hearing so often I wanted to throw it into traffic. At a family dinner, Ava spread fabric swatches across the table and said, "I just want everything to look cohesive." "You mean nice?" I asked. She gave me a tight smile. "I mean not cheap." Mom laughed like Ava had said something adorable instead of rude. The first money conversation happened in my parents' kitchen while Ava was in the living room showing Ben a photo booth template on her phone. Mom slid a printed quote toward me like she was offering me a sacred scroll. "The venue deposit is higher than we expected," she said. Dad stood near the sink with his arms crossed. "No one is asking you to carry the whole thing." That sentence should have made me suspicious immediately because in my family, "no one is asking you to carry the whole thing" usually meant they were about to hand me the heaviest part and call it teamwork. Mom touched the paper with one polished nail. "Just help with the parts that keep the date secure. Venue deposit, part of catering, maybe photography since that needs to be booked now. Everyone is contributing what they can." I looked at the numbers. They were not small. "What exactly are you asking me to cover?" I said. Dad sighed. "Sophia, don't make family feel like a transaction. I'm asking for exact numbers, not a blood oath." Mom's mouth tightened. "You always need everything acknowledged." That line hit the old bruise. 'Cause yes, I did. I wanted the truth acknowledged. I wanted effort acknowledged. I wanted the fact that I had spent years showing up for people who only noticed me when they needed something. But Ava came into the kitchen then, glowing and excited, holding up her phone. "Look," she said. "They can do a custom photo booth template with our initials." Mom clasped her hands. "That's beautiful, honey." Ava glanced at me. It probably costs extra, but we'll figure it out. And there it was. I agreed to help with specific costs. I paid part of the venue deposit, the catering deposit, and one photography payment. I told them clearly in writing that I was not opening a blank check. I even emailed Mom and Dad after that kitchen conversation. Sophia, just confirming I'm covering the agreed portions. Venue deposit, catering deposit, and the photography payment we discussed. Anything beyond that needs to be approved by me in writing first. Mom replied with a heart emoji. Dad replied, "Thank you for doing the decent thing. Not thank you for helping. Not we appreciate you. The decent thing. Like I had finally met the minimum requirement for daughterhood. Still I tried to let it go. For the next few months I helped where I could. I brought extra tape and scissors to the bridal shower because Mom forgot the supply box. I picked up cupcakes after Ava changed her mind about flavors 3 times. I stood in my parents' dining room while Ava and Mom argued over seating charts, and somehow ended up being the one who printed the labels. At the shower, Ava gave a little toast. She thanked Mom for her vision, Dad for being the best girl dad, Aunt Carol for the punch bowl, and a cousin for the cupcakes, even though I had picked them up and quietly covered the difference when Ava upgraded the order at the bakery. She did not mention me. I stood near the kitchen island, holding a trash bag full of wrapping paper, and watched everyone clap. Aunt Carol caught my eye from across the room. She looked confused for 1 second, like she had noticed the missing piece, but then someone asked her where the extra plates were and the moment passed. That was how it always went. People noticed just enough to feel uncomfortable, not enough to intervene. 3 weeks before the wedding, I was at home eating takeout straight from the container because the thought of washing another dish made me irrationally angry. My phone buzzed with a message from Mom. Diane. Sophia, I want you to read this with an open heart. Ava is extremely anxious about the wedding, and after a lot of thought, we think it would be best if you did not attend. This is not punishment. This is about protecting Ava's peace. I stared at the screen so long the noodles went cold. Before I could answer, Dad texted. Mark, you need to be mature about this. Your presence would make things awkward, and people would ask questions. You can still do the decent thing and help from a distance. Then Mom added another message. Diane, Ava deserves one peaceful day. Your presence would make people ask questions. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain needed to release pressure before something cracked. I typed deleted, typed again, and deleted again. The old Sophia would have explained. She would have asked what she did wrong. She would have tried to negotiate her way back into a seat at a wedding she had helped pay for. Instead, I wrote one sentence. Sophia, so I'm not family enough to attend, but I'm family enough to pay? Nobody answered directly. A few minutes later, Ava texted me privately. Ava, don't make this about you. Just let me have one day. I looked at that sentence for a long time. One day. Ava had been given every day since we were children. Every birthday. Every apology. Every room where her feelings took up all the oxygen and mine were treated like clutter. I wrote back, you can have the day. You cannot have my card. She did not reply for almost an hour. Then the family group chat exploded. Diane, Sophia, please do not be cruel. Mark, this is not how decent people behave. Ava, I can't believe you would punish me over one boundary. Ben, can everyone please calm down? A cousin sent 3 question marks. Aunt Carol sent nothing. I put my phone face down and sat quietly in my kitchen. My heart was pounding, but not in the hot, messy way it used to when my family upset me. This felt colder, clearer. Something was wrong beyond the insult. I opened my email and searched Ava wedding, then venue, then catering, then final balance, then authorized card. The more I searched, the less this looked like a family favor, and the more it looked like a financial trap decorated with flowers. There was an email from the venue with the subject line, Ava and Ben final balance. I opened it. The contract listed my name under payer for the deposit. That part one expected. But the payment schedule beneath it showed the final balance still connected to the same card on file. My card. I opened the catering invoice. It included the original deposit I had agreed to, but below that were line items I had never seen. Plated dinner upgrade. Late night snack station. cake cutting fee, additional service charge, a champagne toast listed per guest. My stomach dropped. I opened my credit card app. There were charges I recognized and charges I absolutely did not. A florist charge from 2 months earlier. A rental company charge for upgraded linens. A smaller photography add-on. An authorization hold from the venue. I had noticed some of them at the time, but Mom had been helping me with a family emergency that week, and when I asked vaguely about wedding charges, she said, "It is probably part of what we discussed. I'll check." Then she never did, and I stupidly let it sit because I wanted to trust my own mother. I found an email from the florist with the subject line, "Updated floral package confirmation." The package included ceremony arch greenery, aisle pieces, bridesmaid bouquets, and a sweetheart table arrangement. I had approved none of it. The next morning I called Kayla, the wedding planner. I kept my voice calm because I knew professionals respond better to calm over chaos. "Hi Kayla," I said. "This is Sophia. My card appears to be attached to several wedding charges for Ava and Ben. I need copies of every payment authorization connected to my name." There was a pause. Kayla's voice became careful. "I can only discuss payment authorization with the person attached to the card." "That's me. I understand. I'm not trying to get involved in family matters, but I can send you the authorization chain so you have the same records we have. Please send everything." 20 minutes later, an email landed in my inbox. Kayla had forwarded a thread between her, Mom, and Ava. My mother had written, "Sophia already approved helping the family, and her card can be used for wedding-related balances and upgrades as needed. She does not need to be contacted for every small item." I read that sentence 3 times. As needed. Every small item. The floral upgrade alone was over $2,000. In another thread, Ava wrote, "I want to add the champagne toast and photo booth. Sophia is paying that side anyway, so don't bother her unless you have to." Kayla replied with professional language about needing authorization from the payment contact. Mom replied again, "I am her mother and she already gave approval for us to manage this. Please proceed." My whole body went still. That was not a misunderstanding. That was not a family being sloppy. That was my mother using her role to make a vendor believe she had permission she did not have. I saved everything as PDFs. Then my cousin Melissa called. Melissa was one of the bridesmaids. We were not especially close, but we had always been friendly in the quiet way relatives are when they both understand the family weather and avoid standing in the rain too long. Her voice was tense. "Sophia, I need to send you something, but I don't want drama." "That usually means there's already drama." She sighed. "Ava has been saying things in the bridesmaids chat. I didn't know about the money stuff. I thought you had refused to help." My grip tightened around the phone. "Refused to help? That's what your mom said. She said you backed out because you were jealous." I closed my eyes. Melissa sent screenshots. The first one was Ava joking with bridesmaids about family photos. Ava: "Honestly, if Sophia is in the pictures, Mom will spend years explaining why the vibe is off." A bridesmaid replied with a laughing emoji. Ava: "She's just not classy enough for what we're going for." I know that sounds mean, but you know what I mean. Another screenshot showed Ava saying she was relieved I wouldn't be there making weird comments about money. There was more, but I stopped reading for a minute because my hands started shaking. It is one thing to know your family takes you for granted. It is another thing to see your sister laughing about hiding you from photos while spending your money on flowers. That was the sentence that made me stop wanting an apology. Later that day, Aunt Carol called. Carol was my father's sister, practical and blunt in a way that made my mother nervous. She had spent years trying not to get involved, which I understood even if I resented it sometimes. She did not bother with small talk. "I'm confused," she said. "Your mother said you refused to help with the wedding, and now you're trying to ruin it." I stared at the stack of printed invoices on my table. "She said what?" "She said you promised money, then pulled it because you couldn't stand Ava being the center of attention." A laugh came out of me, small and sharp. "Then she is going to hate my receipts." Carol went quiet. "Receipts? Venue deposit, catering deposit, photography payment, unauthorized floral upgrades, champagne toast, photo booth, My card was used after I said anything beyond the original agreement needed written approval from me. Aunt Carol said very slowly, "Sophia, who signed the venue contract? I need to confirm that." "Do that," she said, "and keep everything." So I did. I made a folder. Not a dramatic one. An organized one. Tabs labeled texts, invoices, planner emails, unauthorized charges, and timeline. I printed Mom's uninvitation message. Dad's lecture about doing the decent thing from a distance. Ava's "Don't make this about you." I printed my original email confirming the limited payments I had agreed to. I printed every invoice. I highlighted my name wherever it appeared. I added screenshots of my credit card charges and the dispute confirmation numbers. I also made a spreadsheet with the total. Seeing the number in one place made my face go hot. I had already paid thousands of dollars. Not vaguely promised. Not offered emotional support. Paid. Real money. Deposits that kept their perfect day alive while they told people I was jealous and refused to help. I did not need to scream. I needed page numbers. The next step was vendors. I emailed Kayla first. "Kayla, effective immediately. No further charges are authorized on my card for Ava and Ben's wedding. No person other than me is authorized to approve charges to my card. Any prior or future verbal approval from a third party is invalid. Please remove my card from all wedding accounts and confirm in writing." Kayla responded within the hour. Sophia understood. "For future charges, we need written authorization from the cardholder. I have removed your card from active billing and noted the account accordingly." Then I called the venue. The coordinator confirmed the final balance deadline and explained that if the balance was not paid by the date listed, the package would have to be reduced, or the date could not be held as originally contracted. "Is my card attached to that final balance?" I asked. "It was previously listed as the payment method on file," she said carefully. "We received updated instructions this morning that it is no longer authorized." "Correct." I emailed the florist, the caterer, the rental company, and the photographer. Same message. No more charges. No third-party approval. Remove my card. Confirm in writing. Then I called my credit card company and disputed the charges I had never authorized. The representative gave me case numbers. I wrote them down in the folder because by then the folder had become less of a weapon and more of a seatbelt. That evening I sent one message to Mom, Dad, and Ava. "Sophia, since I am not invited as family, I am no longer financing the event as family. Please remove my card and name from all wedding accounts. Any charges I did not personally approve in writing are being disputed." Mom called immediately. I did not answer. Dad called twice. I did not answer. Ava texted first. "Ava, are you serious right now? Ava, you knew how important this was to me. Ava, you're trying to ruin the only wedding I'll ever have." Dad wrote in the family group chat, "Mark, Sophia has decided to punish her sister at the worst possible time. I hope everyone sees this for what it is." I watched relatives start typing and stopping. A cousin sent, "Wait, what happened?" Another sent, "Can this not be in the group chat?" Mom replied with the kind of sentence she probably thought made her sound heartbroken. "Diane, family support should not come with conditions." I typed back before I could overthink it. "Sophia, decent people don't ban someone from a wedding and keep their card on file." The group chat went quiet. Then Dad sent me a private message. "Mark, you made your mother cry." I wrote, "She should hydrate. Crying over invoices can be dehydrating." Then I muted him. 2 days later, Aunt Carol called again. "They're planning to talk about your absence at the rehearsal dinner," she said. "Of course they are. I'm not saying you should make a scene." "I'm not bringing a scene," I said. "I'm bringing documents." She breathed out through her nose. "Good." I almost did not go. Not because I was afraid of them, but because I was tired. There is a kind of exhaustion that comes from realizing the argument was never about misunderstanding. They understood exactly what they were doing. They just expected me to keep paying for the privilege of being silent. But if I stayed home, they would fill the room with their version. By morning, I would be the bitter older sister who had tried to collapse a wedding because she could not handle not being special. So I put on a simple black dress, nothing dramatic, nothing bridal, Nothing that could be twisted into competition. I brushed my hair, packed the folder, and drove myself to the restaurant where the rehearsal dinner was being held. The room had low lighting, long tables, and little place cards tied with ribbon. Ava was in a white outfit that looked expensive and deliberately effortless. Ben stood beside her, smiling too hard. Mom was near the entrance greeting relatives with the tense cheerfulness of a woman trying to hold a cracked vase together with both hands. When she saw me, her smile froze. "This is not the time," she said quietly. "You made it the time when you made me the topic." Dad appeared behind her. "Sophia, don't do this." "Do what?" I asked. "Attend a family event?" I thought family was important. Ava saw the folder in my hand and her face changed. It was quick, but I caught it. Not guilt. Anger. Aunt Carol waved me over to a seat beside her. A few relatives stared. Some looked away. Melissa gave me a tiny nod from the bridesmaids' table. Dinner started awkwardly. People picked at salads. Ben's mother tried to talk about the weather, which was brave of her. Ava kept glancing at me like I was a stain spreading across her tablecloth. Eventually, Mom stood with a glass of water. She did not tap it because that would have been too obvious. She just rose slowly, and the room quieted around her. "I want to say something before tomorrow," she began. "Weddings bring out emotions. They bring out old hurts. And sometimes they reveal who can truly be happy for someone else." Aunt Carol muttered, "Here we go," under her breath. Mom continued, "Ava has handled a very difficult situation with grace. She has tried to protect her peace, and unfortunately, not everyone has respected that." I sat still. Dad stood next to her. Sophia promised to help this family. Then, because she was upset she would not be the center of attention, she pulled back in a way that hurt everyone. A decent daughter would not punish her sister days before her wedding. Ava pressed a napkin under one eye. "I just wanted one day," she said, her voice trembling. "One day where I didn't have to manage Sophia's feelings." Several people looked at me. A few looked embarrassed. Ben stared at his plate like he was trying to memorize the fork placement. That was the moment. Not because I wanted to humiliate anyone. I had been humiliated already, privately and publicly. The difference was that mine had been done with lies, and theirs was about to be done with facts. I placed the folder on the table. "If I'm really the problem," I said, "then nobody should mind seeing the receipts." Mom's face went pale. "Sophia." I opened the first tab. This is the text from Mom telling me not to attend the wedding because my presence would make people ask questions. This is Dad telling me to still do the decent thing and help from a distance. I slid the pages toward Aunt Carol, not toward Mom. Carol adjusted her glasses and read silently. I opened the second tab. This is the venue deposit paid by me. This is the catering deposit paid by me. This is the photography payment paid by me. Here is my original email confirming those were the only payments I agreed to cover, unless I approved more in writing. A cousin leaned forward. "Wait, you paid the venue deposit?" "Yes." Aunt Carol looked at Diane. "You told us she refused to help." Mom's mouth opened then closed. Dad said, "This is not appropriate." "Neither is fraud," I said. The word landed hard. I had not planned to say it quite like that, but I did not regret it. I opened the planner emails. This is an email from Mom to Kayla, the wedding planner, saying I approved using my card for additional wedding expenses. I did not. This is Ava asking for the champagne toast and photo booth in writing. Sophia is paying that side anyway, so don't bother her unless you have to. Ben looked up for the first time. "Ava." Ava's eyes flashed. "It wasn't like that." "It's typed exactly like that," I said. Mom reached for the paper, but Aunt Carol moved it closer to herself. Then I opened the screenshot tab. I had debated whether to include the bridesmaids' chat. The financial part was enough. But they had not just used my money. They had made me the villain so nobody would question why I was missing. This is Ava saying I wasn't classy enough to be in the family photos, and that Mom would have to explain why the vibe was off. The room went silent in a way I had never heard from my family before. Usually their silence was strategic. This was shock. Melissa looked down. One bridesmaid whispered, "Oh my God." Ava burst out, "You had no right to show private messages." I looked at her. You had no right to spend private money. Dad's face was red now. Some things should stay inside the family. You lied about me in front of the family, I said. I corrected it in front of the family. Aunt Carol turned a page, then looked straight at my parents. Diane, why is Sophia's name on all of this if she refused to help? Mom tried to recover. Carol, you don't understand the full context. I understand invoices, Carol said. I understand emails. And I understand that telling a vendor to use someone else's card, when that person didn't approve it, is not a misunderstanding. That is a lie. Dad snapped. She is twisting this. I slid the final page forward. It was the spreadsheet with the total amount I had paid, and the disputed charges listed separately. Those are numbers, I said. They don't care how you feel about me. Ben stood halfway, then sat back down. He looked at Ava. What else did you lie about? Ava stared at him as if he had betrayed her by asking the most obvious question in the room. Mom's voice went cold. You are choosing to embarrass us. No, I said. You chose the image. I removed the funding. That was when I stood up. I did not storm out. I did not throw anything. I did not cry, even though my throat burned. I collected my folder, except for the copies Aunt Carol had asked to keep, and pushed my chair in because apparently I was still me. As I left, I heard relatives murmuring. Who signed the contract? Did they really use her card? I thought she wasn't helping. Why would they uninvite her if she paid? Outside, the air felt cool against my face. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before driving. My hands shook then after it was over. Not from regret. From the release of being believed by a room that had been prepared to hate me. The next morning, the vendor emails started. Kayla confirmed again that my card had been removed from all active accounts. The venue sent a formal notice that the final balance was due immediately if Ava and Ben wanted to keep the original package. Since my card was no longer authorized, the family needed to provide a new payment method. They could not. I know because Ava texted me before noon. Ava, they're making us cut things. I replied, no, they're making you pay for things. She sent a paragraph about how cruel I was, how Mom had not slept, how Dad was furious, how Ben was acting weird, and how the wedding would not look the way it was supposed to. The way it was supposed to. Not I'm sorry. Not I should not have said that. Not we should not have used your card. Just grief over a smaller floral package. By the end of the day, I heard from Melissa that the champagne toast was canceled, the photo booth was removed, and the floral package was downgraded. The late-night snack station disappeared. The guest list was cut in a messy, painful way because the catering balance could not support the original count. A few relatives who had been planning generous wedding gifts quietly changed their minds after seeing copies of the receipts through Aunt Carol. The wedding did not vanish. Reality just arrived with a calculator. Mom left me a voicemail that night. Her voice was shaky, but I knew her well enough to hear the performance underneath it. You have broken my heart, she said. I hope someday you understand what you did to this family. Dad left one right after. This was vindictive, he said. You humiliated your mother. You humiliated your sister. You made private matters public. I saved both voicemails because apparently my new hobby was documentation. Then I sent one final message to Mom, Dad, and Ava in a group text separate from the family chat. Sophia, here are my conditions. 1. You will publicly correct the lie that I refused to help with the wedding. 2. You will repay the money I paid according to a written schedule. 3. You will confirm in writing that my card and name have been removed from every wedding account. 4. You will stop telling relatives I acted out of jealousy or I will send the full folder to every person involved. Dad replied first. Mark, you do not get to dictate terms to your parents. I wrote back. I am not asking for permission to protect myself. I am informing you that I already have. Mom did not respond for 6 hours. Then, in the family group chat, she posted the stiffest correction I had ever read. Diane, there has been some confusion regarding Sophia's involvement in wedding payments. Sophia did contribute financially to several wedding expenses. Some additional payment issues are being handled privately. Please do not discuss this further. It was not a real apology. It did not admit the lie. It did not say they had used my card without permission. It was written like a public relations statement after a scandal involving napkins. So I replied once. Sophia, to be clear, I did not refuse to help. I paid agreed deposits. I was later uninvited while my card remained attached to additional expenses I did not approve. Those charges are being disputed. Then I muted the chat again. Aunt Carol called me 20 minutes later. That was not what your mother wanted you to say, she said. I know. Good. A few relatives texted me privately over the next couple of days. The apologies were awkward, because family apologies usually come wearing 3 coats of self-protection. Melissa wrote, I'm sorry. I believed what Ava said and I should have asked you. One cousin wrote, I didn't know you paid that much. That was wrong. Another wrote, I'm staying out of it but I hope you're okay. That last one was not an apology exactly, but in my family it was practically a parade. Ben never contacted me directly, but Melissa said he and Ava had a huge fight after the rehearsal dinner. He had known Ava was insulting me apparently, but he claimed he did not know about the card. Whether that was true I had no idea. He was very good at not knowing things that made him uncomfortable. The wedding happened but not like Ava wanted. I did not attend. Mom sent one last message the morning of the ceremony. Diane, there is still time to choose family. I looked at it while drinking coffee in my quiet kitchen. For once I did not feel the old pull to fix things. I did not imagine walking in at the last minute, hugging everyone, and letting them pretend this was just a bump on the way to a sentimental ending. I did not want to be included badly enough to finance my own humiliation. I replied I did choose family. I chose the person who kept being asked to disappear. Then I blocked Mom, Dad, and Ava for the day. I used part of the money I had saved from stopping the final balance to book a weekend away by myself. Nothing dramatic. Just a clean room, a quiet dinner, and a morning where nobody asked me to solve a problem they had created while insulting me for being good at solving problems. Ava texted me from a different number 2 days after the wedding. Ava, you ruined everything. Mom cried in the bridal suite. The flowers look cheap. Ben's family thinks we're trash now. I hope you're happy. I stared at the message and felt something strange. Not joy. Not sadness exactly. More like the final click of a lock turning. I wrote back no. I just stopped paying for the lie. Then I blocked that number too. The repayment issue is still being handled in writing. Dad tried to send me a partial amount with a memo line that said family help, and I returned it. I told him payments would be labeled reimbursement and applied to the written balance. He called that petty. I called it accurate. Mom has not apologized. Ava definitely has not apologized. Dad still thinks the worst thing I did was make them look bad in front of relatives, which tells me he has not understood anything. But some things have changed. I no longer answer family messages immediately. I no longer volunteer to fix problems nobody asked me about until they became emergencies. I no longer let be the bigger person mean be the quieter victim. Aunt Carol and I talk more now. Melissa and I are cautiously friendly. A few relatives still act uncomfortable around me, like the receipts were somehow ruder than the theft. That is fine. People who prefer lies usually experience facts as an attack. Sometimes I wonder if stopping payment so close to the wedding was harsh. I know the timing caused chaos. I know vendors had deadlines and guests had expectations. I know Ava will probably tell the story forever, as the week her jealous sister tried to destroy her happiness. But they picked the timing when they uninvited the person paying the bills. They could have had my help. They could have had my attendance. They could have even had my quiet disappointment because I had given them that for free most of my life. What they could not have anymore was my money funding a version of family where I was too embarrassing to be seen and too useful to be released. I did not ruin the wedding. I stopped financing the performance. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.